No one in Berlin expected Klaus von Stauffenberg would walk into the Wolfschanze with a briefcase and try to end Adolf Hitler's rule. Yet on July 20th, 1944, that is exactly what happened, and the consequences folded across Europe in hours, then years. This is the true, densely human story of a conspiracy born of despair, military discipline, and fractured loyalties. By mid-1944, Germany was collapsing. The Eastern Front was in retreat. The Allied invasion in Normandy had begun only a month earlier, and within the German officer corps, the reality of Nazi atrocities and strategic ruin had become impossible to ignore. For a small circle of senior officers and civilians, the conclusion was grim but clear. Removing Hitler was the only way to spare Germany from complete destruction. This was not an abstract plot whispered in corners. It was a tightly organized effort centered on the Reserve Army and on an official contingency plan known as Operation Valkyrie. Valkyrie had been designed to maintain order if the civilian government collapsed. The conspirators quietly rewrote its orders, transforming it into a legal mechanism to mobilize reserve units against the SS, but only after Hitler was dead. At the center of this effort stood Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. Wounded in North Africa, blind in one eye, missing fingers on his right hand, Stauffenberg had seen the war unravel firsthand. He had seen what Germany was becoming, and he believed that duty now meant betrayal. Others shaped the conspiracy alongside him. Henning von Tresckow had engineered earlier assassination attempts, all of them failures. General Friedrich Obrecht provided access to the administrative machinery of the Reserve Army. Ludwig Beck, a former chief of the General Staff, stood ready to lead a post-Hitler government. Across Berlin and occupied Europe, officers prepared to seize communication hubs, arrest Nazi leaders, and establish a military cabinet. Everything depended on one moment. On July 20th, Stauffenberg carried a briefcase containing a time-fused explosive into a briefing at Hitler's forward headquarters, the Wolfschanze. He placed the briefcase beneath the table, close to Hitler's position, and excused himself. He believed the explosion would end the regime in a single stroke. But history does not turn only on courage. A staff officer, unaware of its contents, moved the briefcase to the far side of a heavy table leg. The meeting was shortened. It was moved to a wooden barracks, and at 12:42 p.m., the bomb detonated. 4 men were killed. Others were wounded. Hitler survived.
That single physical shift, a suitcase moved an arm's length, transformed assassination into failure. Believing Hitler dead, Stauffenberg flew back to Berlin and activated Operation Valkyrie. In the early evening, inside the Bendler block, forged orders were issued. Reserve Army units mobilized. Radio stations were seized. SS leaders were targeted for arrest. For a few dramatic hours, the impossible seemed plausible, but confusion spread quickly. Key commanders hesitated. Competing loyalties surfaced. General Friedrich Fromm, commander of the Reserve Army, refused to commit fully and then turned against the plotters. Most decisively, news filtered through that Hitler was alive. The moral certainty holding the conspiracy together dissolved into panic. By late night, the coup had collapsed. Stauffenberg, Obrecht, Beck, and others were arrested inside the Bendler block. They were executed by firing squad in the courtyard that same night. the regime responded with ruthless speed. The Gestapo arrested thousands connected to the conspiracy. Roughly 7,000 people were detained, nearly 5,000 were executed, officers, civilians, and even family members. The July 20th conspiracy is a study in moral complexity. Its leaders were not modern Democrats. Many were conservatives and monarchists who wanted to save Germany from ruin more than reshape it. Yet their willingness to risk everything to remove a tyrant gives their story enduring weight. The plot revealed how fragile history truly is, how a delayed radio message, a moved briefcase, a moment of hesitation can redirect the course of millions of lives. It also exposed the limits of conspiracies within totalitarian systems. Plans can be written, orders can be forged, courage can be summoned, but survival depends on loyalty, communication, and improbable luck. Today, the Bendler block stands as a memorial. The executed men are remembered not simply as traitors or heroes, but as human beings who gambled on a narrow chance to stop a catastrophe. Their conspiracy failed, but its trace altered the moral landscape of a devastated Europe and left a permanent mark on how resistance inside tyranny would be remembered.